rap lyrics generator. There we go.
Here we go, Joel. Let's see.
Can you give it a theme?
You can choose a place, or you can get it to randomly pick one. Something you think about. Oh, okay, a Township Tale.
Yeah.
Oh, Township Tale rap. Here we go.
What is
What
it
should
going to
I call
run
it?
tail?
I'll just say ATT. I'll write in literally ATT as in t-shirt, just to see if that helps it rhyme things. Who are you talking to? Boramy. Or my colleagues. Let's put in Boramy. 6 nouns, singular.
Man, that's a very... It's a generator that needs a lot of...
Forest.
Virtual
reality. Go Terra.
Stew. Tree.
Bow.
Bow. And oar. A plural noun. Okay.
Species.
I already got Shmiki for singular.
Okay.
A plural noun. Maybe I'll put trees down here. Trees. And this tree up here can be changed to rock. 6 adjectives. Okay, I'm just gonna...
This is such a bullshit.
Can you speed run this rap, please?
Oh no, damn it. I clicked fill entire form, hoping it would fill just the ones I hadn't filled.
I mean, just go with it. Let's go. Let's hear it.
I clicked random for everything. Now it's write me a rap. This is rather awkward. Although your input passed our adult filter, the returned song did not. Okay.
That's a bad rap. Come on, Joel. Doesn't it rhyme?
That's not the rap. That's an error he got.
What the hell? This is
404, page not found.
Yeah. Hey, friends, it's time. It's time, friends. Friends, begin. Straight out the spiffin' dungeons of rap. The box drops deep, as does my chord. I never drive, 'cause to drive is the nephew of chord. Beyond the forks, life is denied. I think rappers when I'm in a Cape Town state of mind. Hope the chord got some ward. My award don't like no dirty board. Run up to the accord to get the record in a Cape Town state of mind. What more you ask for? The crazy fox. You complain about chickens. I gotta love it though. Somebody still speaks for the fox. I'm rapping the drum, and I'm gonna move your gum like a rancid sharp, like a compass. Boy, I tell you, I thought you were a rumpus. I can't take the chickens. Can't take the banana. I would have tried to run. I guess I got no Americana. I'm rapping to the gum, and I'm gonna move your drum. What? That just flipped the words. Yes, in a Cape Town state of mind. When I was young, my nephew had an orthodox. I was kicked out without no paradox. I never thought I'd see that fox. Ain't a soul alive that could take my nephew's cock. A sharp heart is quite smart. Thinking of rappers. Yeah, thinking of rappers. Rappers. Woo! It's even got brackets there for an echo. What?
Yeah. Man, completely nonsensical. But alright, it's about as good as another way to start the Altacast.
Segues right into this week's topic of rapping the Township Tale. Next feature.
Yeah. Alright, thanks for the intro, Joel. But yeah, so today we're...
Just wait. You haven't seen my album art.
Oh.
Can you upload a picture of yourself?
Hang on, are you posting it somewhere?
State of mind. Joel. Did you just enter your name, or was it? What did it ask for?
Yeah, it asked for my name.
Your rapper name. What's your rapper name, Joel? Is it like Little Joel or something?
No, I just put Joel. I should have put Little Joel. Yeah.
I think Blame Joel could be a good rapper name.
Blame Joel.
Or Big Joel.
Yeah.
Biggie Joel.
Biggie Joel.
Not confused with Billy Joel.
Alright.
Commonly done so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but, so, yeah. Altacast. Let's begin, because this is definitely going in.
Okay. I should have known.
Yeah, you should have known.
It's very obvious.
It's very obvious. Far too big a grin on our faces for it not to be on
That
record.
was. I could have done some more hammers.
But alright, so yeah, welcome to Altacast number 15. And today we're joined with Joel over here on the left, myself here, and then Timo down the bottom. Finally having another guest on the Altacast, and this time Timo is going to be speaking, unlike his last few.
I have done so already, actually.
Yeah. So we've got a full three-body people here. Alright, but today's topic, we're actually going to be talking a little bit about just giving an update on how the forest is going, how it's been going, and kind of an update on our state of mind at this point. There were other topics that we kind of considered, but some of them, or that I considered, but they're a little too sensitive, I think, for the moment, in terms of what they encounter, and because we try not to talk about things that are too far away on the Altacast, because otherwise it just kind of sets expectations for stuff, and people have to wait too long on things. So, yeah.
Things we don't have to wait too long for is Joel finishing in a Mandarin.
Yeah.
Because last Friday we timed him and he could do it very quickly.
I had to. Well, Emma bought me more mandarins because I ran out of the last bag from my parents. So.
Emma shouldn't be enabling you with this stuff.
That's what I was.
She should be because it's the only food you eat in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So while Joel's eating mandarins, quick update on what everyone's doing. The three of us are working on forest stuff. Joel's doing a bit of some loading optimizations so that the forest gets generated faster and that your client doesn't have to spend too long trying to build up the forest as well, because there's a lot of assets that kind of get generated. And Timo and I have been working on a lot of the gameplay stuff, some of the gameplay systems that are kind of changing with the forest that we'll go into more detail later. Serena and Victor are still on optimization, and Serena and Tiana are still working on cosmetics. Sebastian and Tiana. Who did I say?
Serena.
Oh, yes. Sebastian and Tiana are still on cosmetics. You'll see some of their stuff coming out in the next couple days. And Saul has been working on continuing his work on combat trials, of which I've had the pleasure of testing, and Timo had to help me out with one of the segments because it was a little hectic.
It's a really good puzzle. It's a really easy puzzle when you write it down, but when you're in VR and surrounded by foes, it is actually very intense.
Yeah, Timo was watching.
Not that I got to experience it.
Yeah, Timo was watching me and Saul kind of play through this trial because I was streaming it on our company Discord, and because I was so distracted with trying to make sure that I didn't die, whilst making sure that I was trying to solve this puzzle at the same time. So Timo had to look at my screen and tell me what to do, which is kind of fun.
Boramy's usual approach to puzzles, I believe, is just brute forcing the hell out of it. And I think there was 10 elements, and
I feel like
it would have taken a long time to brute force your way through this one. It was a very exponentially high number of solutions.
The way Boramy writes Sudokus is he writes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then he goes to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the next line, but realize he can't put 2 1s in the same column.
You shift everything by
the whole
one.
thing away.
No, you just shift everything by one. Done.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, if I write every combination, as I brute force my way through a Sudoku puzzle, eventually I have the solution to every problem possible that a Sudoku puzzle can have.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And then I just have to match the 2 images, and then that's it. If I do things in an order, then they'll be sorted in a way as well.
See, the real difficulty is finding the puzzle that goes with the solution.
So Tima is still doing businessy things at the moment, as usual. Nothing too different there. Let me just boost you guys just in case. And that's everyone, right? Yeah. Kind of going through everyone a bit quicker today because it's more or less more of the same as we said before, so it's nothing to go too much in depth for. You know, Timo and Sol worked a bit on the, and myself a little bit worked on the hunger changes that came out recently, as well as the archery stuff, which leads a bit into the process that we've kind of been going for with these last couple updates, is that we're working on systems that we mentioned were going to be a part of the forest update. And the forest update is coming soon. It's kind of looming on us a little bit. We've been aiming for Q2 for a long time. Right now we're just on the cusp of it. For anyone curious about when our internal deadline for this sort of thing is, we're really gunning for end of June. There's everybody kind of like tensed up when I said that, because there's still a lot of...
Isn't Q2 over by then?
It'll kind of be over, but kind of not, like...
Q2 is end of June.
I mean, as they say, it's always Q2 somewhere in the world, so yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I guess, the maximum on it is end of June. And, like, maybe it'll be a little delayed, I don't know. But we're really working on getting it up at that time. So,
I think it can be done.
Yeah, I think it can be done as well. Like, I think we're trying to be pretty smart about how we worked on stuff. And yeah, the way we've been doing things primarily is just kind of pumping out all of these systems so that we can just focus on the gameplay stuff, which means that we've got these avenues where we can add meaningful depth to the game. And then it's just a matter of us kind of going through and adding content to stuff.
Yeah, I think Boramy's got a tough time ahead because we've set up so many things which can be tweaked, so many values that change things in the system that Boramy now has to do at least a week or 2 weeks of just going through settings and tweaking numbers on
I mean,
1,000 different things of like wood types and other things like that. Other things.
I have been doing that stuff kind of as we've been going, so like, and getting an eye and a feel for what the value should be. So I think it's not going to take that long. Where I think the time sink will really go into is just making lots of art and stuff for some of the systems.
More things.
I'm surprised because you're really a numbers guy. Boramy loves numbers, so why you wouldn't be spending more time on this?
As covered by our Sudoku conversation. Yeah, one of the systems in the forest allows us to create what we call encounters. And basically it's a way of saying there's a whole bunch of spots in the forest that could spawn an encounter. And encounters don't need to be like anything significant and huge. They can be something as simple as a signpost that points the way to town, for instance. So encounters can range from like sort of big, significant sort of things that you'll really pay attention to just little minor things like a signpost or whatever. And there's so much room for more of those to be added. And that's the thing, that's part of the power of the forest, is the fact that theoretically we could add in 1 million of these encounters. And then when your forest spawns and it just picks 200 of these to put in there or whatever, there's a whole bunch that you won't necessarily experience in the forest on your server. But what that means is theoretically, as with everything, that we can draw the line anywhere. We can say, hey, Boramy, let's draw the line here. Let's not add any more encounters. Or we can say, hey, Boramy, let's see 100 more encounters in the forest. Or let's see 1 million more encounters in the forest. So Boramy's always got infinite work.
Yeah, but the key thing is for me is making sure that like the stuff that we're adding kind of goes back into some of the systems that exist and some of the new ones, and that I'm not just kind of adding 1,000 different ways of getting the same one thing, because then what's the point of you choosing to deal with this particular encounter when you're going to come across one that does the same kind of thing, but maybe it's a bit easier for you to build or whatever a little down the line. So there's which is kind of a nice problem to have because it's given us, an opportunity to think of how we can make, like how do we mesh some of the stuff that we want to kind of put in there and stuff that we know you think will be cool to find into those systems so that it can bring something new and refreshing. And I think some of the stuff we have planned, people will be quite happy to see. Which we're not going to divulge in this Altacast because we have lots of surprises that we have in store.
There's more systems being touched than I initially expected. So I expected changes to archery. I expected changes to cooking related stuff because I was kind of like, forest, food, whatever, that kind of
trees.
Trees. Yeah.
That's
but there's more changes. Like Boramy, one of the first features Boramy kind of whipped together. Boramy started embarking into the wonderful world of coding.
He embarked. Clever pun.
One of the first features he kind of whipped up. I don't want to go into too much detail. I know it's crafted with a new item, but it relates to existing items in the game and gives you a lot more flexibility as to how you use existing items. We're going to be vague with everything. And he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Timo knows what I'm talking about. But it's the fact that not only does it bring something new to the table, it brings kind of a new mechanic to the table, it brings new items to the table, but it also sort of...
I think it really grounds the existing ones in the world. That makes more sense for existing items to exist and how to make use of them and tie them into the world more.
There's gonna be a lot of like super sleuths and like watching this trying to figure out what it is we're talking about.
At this point, I feel like what the existing items are might be fairly workoutable if you go over what we've said so far. But like the point is it's cool to see that old things, as Timo mentioned, kind of felt like loose ends, whereas now they are less loose endish, and it kind of closes that loop and that circle and makes more sense.
Yeah.
And same with some other things like cooking has always, the premise of cooking has always had this kind of dangling aspect of why would I want to do anything if I can just eat a million blueberries? And so the hunger changes have kind of answered that, and so we're picking up a lot of these loose ends and fixing them.
Yeah, I think it's more about like tying the loops together. Yeah, everything attached has a reason. Every single rock is placed with a lot of intent behind it by Boramy.
Yeah, I mean, aside from certain stuff that we have around to look pretty, but most things we try and get attention to. No, that's like the uncuttable trees that I know are going to get mentioned. Yeah, those exist because we want things to still look like something. Environment-wise, that's the only reason. Like
but visuals is still a reason.
Yeah, visuals is still a good reason. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also probably worth mentioning, for those who don't know, we did release a bit of an FAQ over some questions. You can find that on Reddit. Maybe Boramy will remember to link it in the description below.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. But we answered a few questions there, mainly not much. Basically, a bit of stuff about procedural generation, a bit of stuff about what will need to be wiped. So if you're a server owner and you're going, is what's going to be wiped when the forest comes out, answers those sorts of questions. So check that out if you haven't.
I think a lot of people are really concerned or confused about the wipe. Like I've gotten a lot of messages on Discord already, people just asking what is involved. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, what you just explained before with finishing the loop on some of these kind of explains why we want the wipe to exist, because if we've just close the loop on some of these things. It doesn't make sense for someone who existed before this was made apparent in the game that they have like 1,000 Valiant or 1,000 of X.
Yeah.
If this was 4, it was harder to attain this item.
Yeah. There's some kind of there's some general tweaks to some of the more widespread systems in the game. So we've mentioned in the past that we want to have lots of different bag types and stuff, and we'll be seeing some tweaks to in that sort of department as well. And it really mixes up the game. It really mixes up the game experience a lot. So it's kind of a really nice fresh start. And there's a lot of people who actually said they really enjoyed the game when like, for those who don't know, the inventories used to get wiped with the world every 2 weeks. And some people really like that experience because starting afresh can be really, I'm a huge roguelike fan, so to me starting afresh is like a really regular experience, but to some people they like to play on a server, they might play Minecraft or whatever, and they haven't experienced Minecraft afresh, or they haven't moved on to a new Township Tale, haven't experienced Township Tale afresh for years even. And I think a lot of people will find that it can be very rewarding to be like, what the hell, I've got a stick and a stone, what am I meant to do with my life? Like starting off and really building up and actually experiencing things in a much more sort of structured manner than they would have been if you started playing, say, 2 years ago, when it was basically the Wild West of exploitations and resource abundance. So I think overall it's going to be super exciting to see how progression works on those servers once they are reset after the forest. For those who don't know what we're talking about, sorry, we didn't explicitly say this. Timo is referring to the pre-alpha US, US2, EU, AU, and PvP, because they will have their players' saves wiped, at least the inventory, alongside the world.
Yeah, and their health as well.
And health, apparently. There you go. That answers that question. Someone was asking about it. And the private servers, however, won't require a wipe. But I feel like I can't advocate. I haven't spoken to any server owners about this, but I feel like there might be some who want to follow suit to try and also create this fresh experience after the loop has closed. But just for those servers, we won't be wiping any saves on those servers other than chunks which the forest overlaps with. So when the server boots up, the forest is going to go, nah, these are my chunks, get out of here. It's going to delete whatever is there and respawn. But your stuff in town shouldn't be affected.
Yeah. There is a chance that there might be some town changes along with the thing. So I think it might be a good idea for you to wipe your world, but we'll see.
I would like to sort of slip in a little bit of tech for us to control wiping a bit more, so that we can automate wiping of chunks upon server update, and that way we could kind of make it so that you don't, like in the last update, we kind of said you have to go to the console and wipe this chunk, but I'd like to make that a little easier if possible. But yeah.
Yeah, ideally we should be able to mark chunks. I mean, like, there's new content here, everything else says the same, but
yeah, for sure.
life is not that nice.
Yeah.
So what else are we talking about with Forest, Boramy?
Well, I was just wanting to see if Timo wanted to say anything more, or if you had anything else to say. But
see, we're in a hard place here. There's on one side, there's the community going, tell us stuff, and on the other side, there's angry Boramy. Oh, he's
Doesn't look very angry right now, but believe us.
he's gonna like punch through his webcam, through my screen.
Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna reach over this way. Ah.
What?
That kind of worked a little bit.
Anyway, but yeah, so no, but we genuinely want things to be a surprise,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. There's so many things that we can kind of say.
Yeah.
I think it might have been good before this meeting, before this call, for us to kind of clarify what we want to be able to talk about and what we don't want to be able to talk about. So I'm going to cryptically say right now, I wouldn't mind being more open about the next feature that I'm working on for the forest.
Okay.
But you're working on a new feature?
No, the next feature that is assigned to me after the caching stuff I'm doing, I wouldn't mind being a bit more open about that.
Yeah, that one and the thing that I worked on are the two things that I want to hold in secret the most.
What about what about the changes Timo was working on yesterday?
Yesterday, the ones that I was testing, or the ones that I'm working on today.
Oh no, it was the thing I did in like a couple hours. It was just finishing it off.
Victor had mostly done it already.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Exactly.
We can talk about that one because that one's gonna be it's gonna be probably mixed reception for a lot of people.
I think it's good to talk about because it explains a lot as well. It explains why we're wiping.
Yeah. So originally so what we're talking about here is a bit about stack sizes. I'll let everyone finish gasping. And
Wait, I haven't gasped yet.
So
I did.
so stack
It was a bad
sizes
gasp.
will kind of limit the amount of stuff you can carry on your more average inventory methods. We considered introducing this a lot earlier. Like, I think in October last year we were considering it, and we had a lot of the systems in place for that. But we decided not to because it was like a pure nerf, and we weren't ready to kind of offer you a solution for that. I think we were considering it right around the time that communal storage came out.
We also didn't have bag types yet.
Well, we offered one solution.
We had generate crafting at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was right after that we considered it.
Time flies.
I think it was at least, but it was right around the same window.
Yeah.
But so one of the reasons we're kind of pushing it out for this update is because we are going to be wiping inventories on the pre-alpha tail servers. And if there's ever a time when we're going to introduce this thing, it's now when we wanted you to start fresh anyway. So now let's add this other mechanic, I suppose.
Have you explained it before? Have you explained it before to people? What is this? What is a stack size for me?
Okay. Oh, well, I'm going to explain it. I don't want to bore you.
Go ahead, explain it.
So the simple version is basically right now every dock has an infinite stack size, or rather a stack size of like 16 million or something. I don't know. It's some huge number, but
Very specific.
right now you're never kind of constrained from carrying too much. What we're going to be adding is literally stack size, stack limits. So this item might not be able to stack more than 100, and this other item might be able to stack. It might be a larger item, so it can't stack more than 20 of it, for instance. Do we have any confirmed sort of sizes? I don't know if we've got anything.
Nothing confirmed yet. I'm organizing those today, so that's what I'm doing today is making all that work. Yeah. Like in terms of.
But it doesn't mean there's never a situation where you can't store more than a stack size, because we're going to introduce that some docks have the capability to store 2 stacks or 3 or 10 stacks worth. So if a stack was 50 and this dock supported 2 stacks, that you could store 100 of the item in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a simple example could be if the front docks on your belt had a 1 stack multiplier, and a rock had a limit of 50, then you could store 50 in your front belt. But a bookcase might have a 2 times multiplier, meaning each dock could actually store 100 stone, for instance. And where this really gets powerful and where this really gets interesting is when we start having specialized backpacks. So we could have backpacks that are really good, that have maybe one big dock, kind of not visually big necessarily, but one dock dedicated to storing a lot of wood, for instance. And that way a player could grab this backpack, put this backpack on, store heaps and heaps of wood in there, as well as a couple other items, because that wood dock has such a high multiplier. It's got so much storage potential for wood. But someone else without a specialized wood backpack would be limited by just, the generic standard sort of docks on their bag. So we can really start making people feel like their equipment and their backpack really matches their profession, which is super exciting.
And a part of it is, obviously, this plays out a bit differently between the different types of communities that play on different servers. So we know that the pre-Alpha Tale servers, for example, see a lot of different people coming in and out. So having, like deciding to store your different backpacks in a house, it doesn't necessarily feel safe. So there will be options that give you an elevated amount of general storage. And that might be what most people on those servers do. But if you're playing on your private server or something like that, then maybe you're gonna dedicate to having different loadouts essentially ready for you. And there is going to be a downside to carrying lots and lots of things. We're kind of going to see how it's going to impact gameplay as we work on it today. Essentially, that's what we're doing is, and that's to do with like kind of weight of what you're carrying and how that impacts your movement speed. There's a certain point in games where that can get a bit annoying. So we want to make sure that we find the right balance between it being too much of an encumbrance but enough of a downside that maybe you want to choose a bit more wisely what kind of bag you bring. And what you store in and stuff like that.
I've got 2 questions. I mean, they're the same question, but I'm not sure if we've discussed really how to visualize either of those two. Like, we don't have a proper way of visualizing stack sizes beyond trial and error. So the only way for me to find out how much a stack size is by taking X amount of the item and seeing if I can add more to it. And then at some point I can't, and then that's the maximum for stone or for.
I think a lot of it will be that. In terms of an initial, like you come across an item you've never seen before, working out whether it's going to be the small stack size, the medium stack size, or the large stack size.
Yeah, or for example, if you look in a chest and it has 100 items in there, does that represent 3 stacks of 33? Well, it doesn't, 99, I guess. Or is it 2 stacks of 50 or something like that? Like, maybe we could change the dock number, the numbers, for example, to just show the number of stacks plus the number of excess or something like that. If we really want to do it, have like a notch for each stack that's in there.
We could definitely tweak visuals. I feel like that sort of stuff will be fairly intuitive. Some of the things that might be a bit tougher to work out is like, is this dock a 2 times multiplier or 1 times multiplier or whatever?
Yeah.
But maybe we can work with bubble colors or
tough because they're already used bubble
a
colors.
lot of shapes and stuff like that can play a role as well.
Yeah.
A lot of things are going to be fairly intuitive. Like if you've got a backpack that looks like a basket with a couple of docks on the side, you're going to be able to safely assume that the big basket dock is going to hold more than a 1 times multiplier. Whereas these small side pouches are probably going to be 1 times multiplier.
I guess the thing we're also planning to do is not make everything like a random number. It's not going to be that stone stacks are 42 in size and flint stacks are 38 and feathers stack in 13 sizes or something. They're always going to be pretty round numbers.
There is going to be a bit of a sense.
Yeah.
There is going to be a bit of a sense of uniformity with how these things work, and we'll find the right numbers that I think will still make your trips down to like the mines or the forest valuable if you're carrying regular storage, but maybe you're going to have to be a bit more conscious of what you value at this stage. And having these things also, like having a downside, going back to the weight thing, means that that we can feel comfortable, making this game to release backpacks that can let you store more things, because you're kind of making this this exchange on your experience with it. Previously, if we just added like a larger backpack, like a lot of people wanted, there's no reason why you wouldn't use that backpack. But now there's this kind of conscious choice you have to make that, yeah, I'm going to use this backpack. I'll be able to store lots of things in it, but I'm going to be impeded in this other way. And that's kind of like the value exchange we want to make.
You can be the pack horse of the group.
And people have to protect you because you can't move as fast. So you're like...
But yeah, the second part of my question from before is how are you going to visualize the weight as well? Because if I have a bag which is like slowing me down, am I just going to have to move with it to figure that out? Or is the bag maybe you got a visual next to it that says this is like 100%, you're over encumbered at this point?
The page could have a weight sort of icon on it or something. We could do something like that.
Yeah, there's some...
How about we add actual weight, so you hold it and then your hand just sags. And if it's all the way to the floor, that's when it's over encumbered.
What you do is you have to kind of T-pose with your hands out, and then you can kind of scale yourself.
Just lock your shoulder blades together.
Well, that's pretty heavy. No,
we could add some scales to the game. That'd be cool.
Yeah, there's various ways we can kind of visualize that, and I think there's, like once we lock down on the model for how weight affects stuff, I think we'll have a better idea of how it happens. I've already got an idea in my mind of how it's going to work, but I'll run it through with Joel and Timo after we're done with this, probably.
We're also going to do lots of testing, which involves putting on different backpacks and going running together, basically, and being like, oh, this feels like this is... Because you always have a different... As soon as you differentiate people's speeds, you're going to have a different experience, because you're not just all mad running in a certain direction. You're going to get to the point where you're kind of like, someone runs ahead and they might like muck around a bit because they're waiting for others to catch up. And someone else might be like, just wait for me. And those sorts of experiences are something we're going to have to experience ourselves and tweak and be like, okay, maybe this is too slow, or maybe this is not influential enough to mean anything. And we can try and find a sweet spot for that as well.
Yep.
It'd be cool if you could have more of the strength, or you drink a strength potion, and then you could carry more for a small amount of time while that was done, like as you're making the trip back from the mines or something like that.
That's another aspect of, I guess, like crafting and cooking value that we can play with now that we have this other system is essentially in place. But all right, I think we're a little over the 30-minute mark for the first half, so. That was kind of a bit about forest production, a bit more about inventory and weight.
Should edit it so it cuts out mid-sentence.
Yeah, the exact 30-minute mark.
We're gonna have to cut the wrap at the start, unfortunately.
Oh no. But yeah, okay, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be back in just a moment.
Ooh. Clap sync.
Yeah. Okay. Can we all clap sync, guys? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay, welcome to the Q&A section of this Altacast 15, where we answer your questions that you've asked for us. Yeah. So, okay. We've got a lot of questions. Who wants to kick us off?
Oh, it should be really
we've got a lot of questions. Let's try and speed run some of these.
Hey, link me.
Get on the fucking Altacast 14.
I don't do that. Altacast14.com.
Go to Altacast14.com.
It's in the thing.
Yeah, I got it.
What if I was streaming this like I did last time?
Bloody hell. Okay. Will we release the desktop camera? When will we release the desktop camera? The fly cam.
This question was asked in a more professional way than it has before, so maybe it deserves a more real answer.
I feel like I would like it to be released after the forest is released,
Oh
because
yeah.
I kind of like the idea of not letting people, like, obviously once it's released, so we can't do this for future features, but for at least this feature we can release a whole big area of the map without having everyone just fly through it to check it out straight away. Like
But
it'll
maybe we
kind of,
should do a limited version of it, I think. Because what I was saying before is that I think if we released it right now, it would kind of detract from the VR being number one
Yeah.
thing that we've got going on. Like, it's, first of all, it's a thing in the world that people can see, so that it almost acts like a player. And I know there's things you can literally pick up items, at least the version that we have. If we could limit it to be invisible, so that's purely there for moderation and for cinematic shots, then I'm 100% for it. But if it's literally like another player in the world, I think it's a bit weird, and it goes against everything else.
well, I'm not. I think it would be good to disable sort of interaction with the world. I'm not fussed with it being seen, but I just think it might be nice just to push it out after the forest.
Yeah.
Just
I agree with that as well. Because we don't like the idea of people kind of skipping past the progression of stuff.
can we smelt duplicate blacksmith molds for iron?
There's going to be more of a use for molds in the future. So until we kind of work that through, we're not going to let people destroy molds at the moment. There is a bit of a misunderstanding, I think, about molds at the moment, is that people think that you can just add duplicate molds to the decks and they kind of stay there. I'm 90% certain that when you add a duplicate mold to the mold racks or the smelter, it removes the ones before that.
Yeah.
So you actually only have one mold, but you can always just add another one to the thing, and that's kind of how you can get rid of molds if you want. The thing that is a bit of a pain I can understand is the fact that duplicate molds still spawn, and that's something that maybe will change in the future. But there will be changes to some of this stuff, I think.
I'll be back 1 sec. My cat's just crashed something.
All right.
What's that rattling sound?
Will there be a skill path for cooking, like ember cooking or cutting whole pouches full of ingredients? There will be a skill path for cooking once cooking is expanded upon, so that it's a bit more involved and a little less just dump ingredient inside of the zone type of.
Is it going to be different to alchemy? It's a completely different alchemy skill path?
I think it'll probably be different, yeah. Because alchemy is going to be a bit more chemistry based. What updates can we expect to release with the forest? Archie was mentioned. What about climbing? Right now we're just kind of doing stuff that really interacts with like the creatures and stuff, and a bit of your adventuring. Climbing has a lot of work that needs to get done for it, both on like crafting side and the world interaction and making sure it all works fine. So probably not going to be with the forest.
Which question was that?
The climbing one.
Yeah.
It's got 9 up. It's the first one of the 9s.
Oh, okay. Did you do the skill path?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
What is that rattling? Jesus Christ. Who's rattling?
oh no, don't mow. That's not mowing.
What?
Someone's mowing.
Is it?
I can't hear
It doesn't
that.
sound like mowing. Okay. I'll just ignore it then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you can't hear it.
I can't hear it. So maybe
Okay,
it's
well-
me, or maybe it's Joel. I don't know.
Did you do the wooden bow one?
No, we haven't.
Alright, so with the
This one,
forest
right?
and more types of wooden bows, might metal bow crafting recipes at the forge be a thing too?
It might be a thing, but further in the future. We're not really going to work on metal bows for a while because we want to kind of expand the meaning of wood and timber for the time being. Because metal already has a lot to play with melee combat and things like that.
Wine press, which can be used to squeeze fruits for juice. Damn, I'd love a juice. I want juice now.
I mean, it's a pretty good idea.
Just reuse the coin press and just
Yeah.
put a blueberry beneath it. Done.
The main thing is to make sure that like once we have a good varied amount of use cases for these liquids and foods, then we'll come up with these other options to do stuff with.
Okay. Plans for humanoid enemies?
Yep, we do have plans for humanoid enemies. We're kind of taking our time with it because we want to expand the library of AI behaviors that we have.
The cowboy is coming back from the PAX build.
Yeah, he's
No.
gunslinger is gonna come and hunt you down like the mysterious stranger from Fallout.
Like really low poly version as well.
But yeah,
Just
we
to
will.
fit down style.
We
just
will have
lose it
creatures that build weapons and kind of attack you in a bit more of a
Organized.
stereotypical fashion where you might want to be blocking and kind of maybe you can steal their weapons or I don't know. But yeah, they won't be humans, is worth clarifying, but they will be humanoid.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on making heart flowers harvestable and using them in stews?
One of the reasons we don't make heart flowers harvestable is because we want it to be like a personal quest type of thing for you to go there and get it for yourself, and that it's not something someone can just give you the same way other things happen. But there may be something like we did consider having something around the heart flower that might spawn that you can collect and bring back, and it's like a little ingredient type of thing. So that might be a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's akin to some of the problems that like really Valiant tools, for instance, have. Like where if a new player joins the server, you can just load them up with Valiant tools, give them a really good backpack, and they're kind of like, oh, look, I'm a pro at the game. But these sorts of things really, actually, skills and heart flowers are the two things in the game that can kind of clearly differentiate a new player from an experienced or a long-term player.
What's the next question with a shovel head? Sounds funny. Any thoughts on crafting a metal bow and crossbow and maybe having the ability to add a shovel head to them? Are they expecting to add a shovel to a bow?
I think so. I mean, I think the idea is like if you...
Or to the arrow. What if you added the shovel head to the arrow and you can shoot the shovel and it would dig for you as it lands?
You gotta shoot the shovel, but then you gotta shoot another one upwards so that it lands on the shovel to like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to flip it.
I mean, like adding weapon stuff to bows and crossbows, not a bad idea. Might happen in some case. We'll just see how. Like usability's always been strange with those, but maybe it's fun to just kind of have in for like kind of niche interactions that you might want to do.
Will there be a fantasy cosmetic with pointy ears, over the top looking armor, eye shapes, hairstyles, and maybe haunts?
So they won't be necessarily fleshy ears. Like there might be things that look a bit higher fantasy, in terms of like jewelry. There won't be anything that looks like armor in our cosmetics thing. That's a distinction that we decided to make with cosmetics, is that it shouldn't look like armor. Because we're going to have an armor system that we kind of want to let it stand on its own. And in general, we're kind of avoiding making you look like a different, like a, like humanoid species with the cosmetic stuff, because there is a bit of like lore and story surrounding who you are in the game, and we want to kind of preserve that a little bit.
Any plans to make weather or wind affect arrow accuracy?
Ooh, I 100% want to say that.
Is Timo frozen? Oh no.
No, he's stuttering a
I
little
100%
bit.
want to say that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just the video. Yeah. Once we have weather.
I mean, weather is such a long-term goal, but yeah, I think wind could be before weather, because a wind area is much easier to implement an entire environment-wide weather system.
Yeah, like a localized wind area.
Yeah.
Rather than a global.
Or maybe like above a fire, like Breath of the Wild kind of style.
Ooh. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Can you glide around?
We actually answered that one already. Are there any plans to encourage more trade?
So, yeah. Do you want to get this one, Joel?
This person suggested a requesting to buy a trade deck. Well, I think we've covered this a bit in the past. The big issue with buying is the fact that it's really hard to communicate what you want to buy. In a traditional like MMO desktop game, you would search for stone, and it would come up in a list, and you'd click on the thing you want. Whereas in VR, firstly, we don't want UIs of searching for things. Really. So
yeah, we did have an idea a bit on like cataloging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
So you can kind of we covered it before. But essentially, when you discover an item, like by grabbing or using it for the first time, essentially like a page about it gets added to a library, and then you can go to the library, take the page, put it in like a buying request thing, and then set the amount of it that you're willing to buy, and then people can look at it and see what it is. And we don't necessarily have to just display like the glyph version of it. If we wanted to, we could display what the actual item is so that people can know exactly what you're looking to buy. But that's
like a compendium, right?
Yeah. But that's the future of kind of that trading aspect.
Yeah, we would like to start sort of doing a bit more design and investigation into systems like that, but nothing is in the works. Some other ideas that we've had is stuff like auction tables. One of the problems with the sort of trade decks is the seller sets the value. It could be interesting to start seeing, say, I can make a really cool looking sword, I can put it in a trade deck, and then people can actually go, oh, I'll pay 10 gold for that. And someone else can be like, 10 gold? Goodness, I'm going to pay 15 gold for that. And then it kind of works its way up. And then someone really wants that sword, so they throw in 200 gold. But the point is, we've got the ability for the price to be set by the buyers rather than by the seller. Stuff like that, I think, will come with time, or at least we'll have more thought and design put into it. But there's nothing in the works, and unlikely anything coming with the forest. So I would say after the forest is when we're going to have a better idea of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's similar, the next one.
Yeah, similar question. There will definitely be different kind of market stalls where you can store more things. But again, that is something that will come later. The whole trading aspect doesn't really fill in the adventure loop of things. It's kind of like it's a big kind of community feature. And right now we kind of have our focus on adventuring and finding stuff and exploring
I've seen some cool concept art for more shop-related stuff, but it's down the line.
Yeah.
The next question is good about the different fuel types. Basically, how's the complexity of fuel going to work with more wood types? If we have 3 different wood types, each, like the woodcut wedge, then there's the sticks, then there's coal. There's like a huge array of different fuel types. And how do we combine them to just get one fuel value when we're trying to fuel the smelter? I think it should add together too. Like in some systems, it should add together. So in the smelter, that you can just throw things in and it'll just use their fuel value and add it to like a number basically. So you've got 10 fuel in the system.
Yeah.
But in other systems, it should be individual.
Right now, the big problem that people have with the smelter is, I think it might have only had one dock at some stage or something. I don't know.
It still only has one dock for fuel.
The problem is if it has a stick in there, 2 sticks, say, of some wood type you don't have, there's no way to take them out, but there's no way to add logs or coal or anything because there's a stick in each of the docks. And maybe that amount of fuel in the docks isn't enough to actually smelt, and therefore the smelter won't start, and you're kind of stuck. So we could change it so that internally there is just a single fuel number, or we could change it so that the smelter can run and do a partial job, maybe, if it doesn't have enough fuel, and then you'll just need to restock the fuel. But those sorts of jams in the system, I definitely think we'll try and clean up or resolve as soon as possible, especially if wood types are out. I think that'll be more important.
Yeah, like, so. We'll probably look into a solution for the smelter, like, soon.
This question's basically asking it's a long question, I'm not going to read it, basically asking our opinion on fantasy stuff in the cosmetic store. As Boramy said, our goal is to not change your humanity, because that is, in law, there's reasons and there's stuff behind the scenes that kind of explains what's going on. And if we kind of take the whatever approach to our cosmetics, where someone goes, oh, add in cat ears, and we do that, and then someone's like, add in horns, and we do that, and we just add literally everything. From our perspective, what we're doing is we're kind of bastardizing our world, the law, the trueness of our world, simply because it'll like pocket a bit more cash. The reality is we'd much rather stay true to our design of the world, and what we can do instead is we could do things like ear cosmetics, which have a bit of a fancy spike to them, because that could be something that humans wear because it's some sort of ritual or something, but literally adding pointy ears would remove your humanity. So there's kind of a line there that needs to be drawn.
Yeah.
What's my PO box so you can send me mandarins? I'm okay. I really don't need more mandarins. This is one of 4 bags that I got the other day, so I'm really good. Fishing question mark.
Will Alta have a public stock to invest in?
Hey, what's the IPO opening up?
Why are your questions in such a different order tonight?
I mean, mine are
why is
order.
yours? You just answered one about your PO box, which is like right at the bottom for me.
Yeah, me too.
My next one is about the Unity LTS, which that's the top one for me.
What do you think, Timo? What about the Unity LTS?
Well, we have to ask Victor about that, because Victor's going to kill us if we're going to say, oh, let's just update to a new version of Unity. Because as nice as it sounds, there's a lot of things that get changed, and everything will break, even though on the surface it might seem okay. So I think it's more than just a week's worth of work. I think it could spiral out of control and be months worth of work. Maybe, and the thing is, we never know how much of a performance upgrade there actually is until we try it out. For some things it's a bit more apparent, like, oh, they've upgraded to a new physics system. But we don't know exactly if that's actually better or worse for us until we try it.
Part of the thing is there's 2 aspects to it. One is fixing bugs, but we can invest weeks, months into fixing bugs if that's what it takes. But if we get out on the other end and there's 0% improvement, then maybe that work wasn't as worth it. So but the problem is it's really hard to test whether there'll be improvements until you fix those bugs, because you literally can't run the game. So, but there definitely are some things in the new versions of Unity that we're really excited, well, at least I'm really excited for, such as being able to cut holes in the terrain, which will let us do a little bit more exciting things, basically. Like we could put tunnels in or whatever, whereas right now that's not possible, which really upsets me. I would have loved to ship the forest with tunnels, but maybe we'll have tunnels in the forest. Some update after we do update, but no, we don't know when that's going to happen.
All right, let's try and speed through it a bit more if we want to cover more questions.
Forest percent completion. What are you saying? 85%? It's too much?
70.
I'd say 70, yeah. Like, and it's 70%, and it's most of the hard stuff done as well.
Done.
Yeah.
Fishing question mark? Yes.
After the not with forest, but yes. After the forest update, will you be jumping into another big update? or do some minor updates before the next large update?
Probably be a bit of a mix. There's gonna be a big update in the works, but then some minor update stuff going along with it.
Server owners like options, things like individual spawn rate, specific skill tree experience. I think that stuff will come with time. The reality is the game is still in pre-alpha. Our systems change, and adding in too much overhead onto each of our systems means that it's more work for us when we want to make these changes.
Yeah.
When the game is settling down and we're in a stage where we know things aren't going to be making any big drastic changes, that's when we can really start rolling out more flexibility and without the fear of it blowing up our workload in the future. But there will be more flexibility with that. Will weapon size weight ever be a factor in how fast you can swing a weapon?
I want it to be. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
It just gotta be done well.
Yeah. It should be done super well and not be annoying. Yeah.
Weird question. To drive up sales, would you consider community polls, the outfit themes, to be done after every new shop rotation?
This is a similar deal with the with just maintaining the. I guess like sometimes we want to offer variety where for things that maybe that you don't think you want. So like just to kind of keep things diverse and creative, we try not to overly do something that we know is going to be like an easy popular hit just because we want to see if we can invigorate a bit of different ideas to people. So generally we don't do polls about cosmetic stuff.
In a game like Fortnite, I imagine they could do something like that, because if you come up with like, I want a rubber duck costume, they'll be like, sure, let's do it. Whereas because they don't really have boundaries to their cosmetics, whereas things are a lot harder for us to say yes, but also make sure we're. Yeah.
I reckon we have 3 more questions because there's like 20 more. But
Yeah, there's a lot of questions.
Everyone pick one question.
Okay.
Some of them are duplicated. One question.
Right, some of these are really easy to answer.
We're going to answer like 2 questions in the time we're picking.
Yeah, but this is fun.
Okay, there's one. I've picked mine.
Just wait. This is not my question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can players dip their faces into teleport potion bucket to teleport back home soon? I thought they could already do that.
I think something happened and they can't do that anymore, but yeah.
Well, they should be able to. That's a bug.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. You have a question, Timo?
Alright. Any plans to add a faction guild emblem creator to the cosmetic house?
Yeah.
That would appear in-game like the supporter and altar symbols. I don't see that happening.
What?
I actually don't see that. Like, I can see some parts, but not in-game, like, or maybe to show off your server, maybe you can you can already upload your server icon and like promote it and then launch it that way, but I think in-game, if it were to happen, it'd be so far away that it's not even worth saying yes to.
Which question are you reading?
Any plans to add
any plans to add a faction/guild emblem creator in the cosmetic house that would appear in-game like the supporter and altar symbols? I think it's a cool idea, like having it above your head, but I think it's a lot of work and it's so far in the future that I'm just going to say no for now, and then in 2 years when we have spare time.
Spoilers, if you're a supporter, you can scroll all the way up to the top in supporter spoilers, and you'll see that we actually have worked on some tech for that a way back when we were actually working on cosmetics in the first place. But it's not coming super soon.
I mean, just a quick thing to clarify, the thing Joel's talking about is not to appear above your head. It's to
not above
it's to
your
do a
head.
par with your sash that you have on you, and that might come
Oh,
on
okay.
beforehand. But like I don't think anything will replace the support and alta symbols at the top of people's heads.
Those symbols, I imagine, we might add like a moderator one, for moderators on your server or something. But that's kind of like a reserved sort of spot. But your sash on the front of your belt is definitely something that we will add customization to eventually. No confirmation as to when that's happening. It's not in the works.
All right.
Uh,
What's your question, Joel?
Oh, crap.
I know what Boramy's question is.
What's your question, Boramy?
No, I want to go last because I know mine's going to be fun, so I want to end on a good note.
Okay. It's not going to be can Boramy show off more of his art,
No,
and
it's
him just
not.
saying no.
No, bye. We're done. Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Yeah.
Will we get some sweet art for painting or wall scroll decorations for home decorations? I think there will definitely be decoration things once house building is out. Ways for you to personalize and make your home really your own. Whether it will be wall scroll decorations, I assume that's like wallpaper or something. I don't know if we'll have wallpaper as such, and I'm not sure if we'll have painting, but we'll definitely have ways that you can decorate your house. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, we haven't got house building yet, so once we've got house building, we'll really sit down and go, okay, what are the best ways to really spice this up and make it personal?
Yeah. And so my question is, will there be status effects like confusion, slowed, snared, stunned, feared, poisoned that affect the player in some way? Confusion could invert controls, for example. I'm all about having more status effects for both players and for enemies. Some of which, like slowed is kind of similar to crippling, but things like being snared or poisoned and stuff like that is definitely something I would want. On another note, like elemental stuff, I think is kind of where we are most excited about, like you being able to be frozen or like electrocuted and stuff like that could have a variety of compounding effects with the world and its various chemical elements.
Can we try and tap into real life status effects? Like if we want them to be scared, can we just play like a screaming noise in their ears all of a sudden out of nowhere? So I cast a fear spell on Boramy and he just is, and then he's like, what the? And he in real life is scared, and that's how we do status effects. And if we want someone to
play them
that,
that video we showed you the other day, Joel, the slow drive, the relaxing drive.
Relaxing car drive.
Yeah, just playing that.
Status effects will be awesome. One of the things that as VR developers we have to be careful of is the line between what is like a game status effect and what's going to make someone throw up. Like stuff like knockback is something we definitely want to experiment with and see how it feels and see how it works. But if it proves, and in a PC game, like it doesn't matter, like you work on knockback. But in a game like any VR game, we do have to be careful that someone's not going to throw up or like fall over every time they get knocked back. So.
Yeah, because we could make a knockback system, but if you get knocked back like 50 times because there's 50 enemies around you that knock you back and you're just ping-ponging, like maybe you'll feel a little ill. But yeah, like I think the future of like mid-game and end-game content is going to feature a lot of concepts of status effects. And that's kind of how a lot of the game's diversity is going to play a role. So I think you have that to look forward to if you're interested in what endgame Township Tale could look like. But yeah, that's it for Altacast number 15. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks Timo and Joel for showing up.
No worries.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Again, if you've got more questions, feel free to hit us up in the Q&A below. I'm also going to put in like FAQ link that Joel has about the forest, in case there's more things you're interested in reading about regarding procedural generation and some of the core values behind the forest. Hope you enjoyed this Altacast. See you next time. Bye bye.
Oh, yeah.